While economies and global markets are counting down to Donald Trump's tariff announcement, all eyes are on the event, which will be held in a few hours from now at Rose Garden at the White House. Markets are on high alert ahead of the announcement at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Stocks open lower for the third straight day as investors wait with bated breath for the U.S. president to give more clarity on the tariffs. Trump has announced it's Liberation Day in America. However, still not much is known about these Liberation Day tariffs. The U.S. president has merely said that he would be very kind and has given little away.
We are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice. Relatively speaking, we're going to be very kind.
While Trump has insisted he has decided on the reciprocal tariffs hitting countries that have targeted the U.S., the White House admitted he was still ironing out the details. Trump has trailed the measures for weeks, initially suggesting that the tariffs would simply match whatever levies other countries impose. As the deadline drew near, U.S. media reported that he had also been considering blanket 20% tariffs, and then there was a third open under consideration where some countries would get preferential treatment. Major economies, including the European Union, have vowed retaliation. The European Union, which Trump has accused of trying to screw the U.S., said it hoped to negotiate a solution, but that all instruments are on the table to retaliate if necessary. The EU will respond to the new tariffs before the end of April. Meanwhile, other top exporters are seeking to build up alliances to counter Washington with China, Japan and South Korea, speeding up talks on a free trade agreement. Trump has already raised duties on Chinese imports, as well as steel, aluminium and some goods from Canada and Mexico. In case of additional tariffs, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says his government will be very deliberate in terms of the measures they take to fight for Canada. Mexico, on the other hand, has already lowered its 2025 growth forecast from between 2 to 3% to a range of 1.5 to 2.3%, citing tensions with its largest trading partner. But what do the Americans think about the tariffs? How do they feel about them? Now, Fox News conducted a poll in which 69% of the respondents said tariffs on imports will make products they buy more expensive. 7% said tariffs will make products less expensive, while 17% said there would be no difference in pricing. Let's now talk to our correspondent in the United States. Susan Teherani is now joining us live from New York. Susan, good to see you. It's Liberation Day, or as Trump called it yesterday, the rebirth of America. What do Americans think about Liberation Day?
So, there is definitely a lot of concern, and that's because many of them are watching the markets. Markets don't like instability. A lot can change after 4 p.m. when we have a clearer picture of what President Trump means by these reciprocal tariffs. Then there are those, notably businessmen, who on the one side are concerned, but then there are those that say that, any negative impact on the consumer will be short-lived, or it won't happen at all because these tariffs are reciprocal, keyword being reciprocal. So, we'll have to wait and see, but there's no doubt that there's growing concern considering the fact that President Trump ran on reviving the economy. Economy is the number one aspect and the thing that most Americans think about. So everybody's going to be watching this Rose Garden ceremony very closely.
Susan, there are 15 countries which are on the list, and those countries are very worried. They're very, skeptical about these tariffs, and they're waiting with bated breath. Is that the same feeling with Americans?
Maybe a little less, considering the fact that the Trump administration has been pretty successful in its messaging, saying that other countries have, quote unquote, been ripping off the United States. So there is that sort of, nationalist aspect to it among many Americans. But there's no doubt that there are others that are wondering, what is the price that they have to pay to get this money back into the United States and these businesses back in the United States. It's definitely not going to happen overnight.
All right, we'll have to wait and see what happens when Trump does issue these much-awaited tariffs. Susan Tehrani will have to leave it there. Thank you.